Bitcoin is unstoppable. Will we see a $50,000 Bitcoin this week? We got a major week coming up with major economic catalysts which could either push Bitcoin past 50,000 or send us crashing back down. I'm going to break down exactly what's going on, what I expect from the charts, and a whole lot more. Smash up the likes. Do not forget to subscribe. As always, guys, check out the links in the description to our Telegram community where I'm dropping alpha on an hourly basis, including voice notes, chart patterns, TA, trade alerts, and a lot more. You got to be in the Telegram. So Bitcoin here, guys, on a Sunday, you have to be very, very careful on a Sunday for low volumes, right? Easy to manipulate the market. But that being said, we're seeing a continuation of what we saw during the week, which is Bitcoin is super bullish right now. We covered off in yesterday's videos that the inflows from the ETFs are really starting to take impact, and that is really starting to give a wind behind the sails of Bitcoin, now pushing through 48,000 and looking to mount an attack at two important levels. And the first one is this green horizontal I want to bring your attention to. This green horizontal resistance is sitting at 48.8. If Bitcoin can reclaim this level, this is going to be the springboard from which it can mount an attack at 50,000. We know 50,000 is going to be the hard level. That's the psychological level. That's a key level where people will start to talk about Bitcoin a lot more. They're already talking about it a lot more, but it'll be a lot more when you hear Bitcoin at 50,000, right? So suspect that there will be a lot of shorts sniping the price action from that point. It will not be easy to just break through 50,000, but if we can hold a support above 48.8 and use that as the level to go and mount a couple of attacks. So let's reclaim this level. Chill here for a bit, mount an attack. Even if we fail, we can come back, mount another attack, come here, and eventually break through this 50 level, right? Just kind of shuttle through it slowly over time. So really strong here on Bitcoin here on the hourly chart, riding above its hourly EMA ribbon. It's been in a very nice upward trend. If I zoom up the time frame to the 4 hourly, just look at that extension. And this is the beauty of Bitcoin when it decides to pump. When it decides to pump, it will just go. I mean, if you take a look at this move here, from when it decided to reclaim its EMA ribbon for real and bounce, this is now up to current prices 13% spot on Bitcoin. A very strong move. Now, of course, do you want to be chasing green candles? No, we've spoken about this at length. You want to be waiting for support, but the reality is sometimes Bitcoin doesn't come to support, which is why you have to be very patient and pragmatic. Now, where is support right now in Bitcoin? Well, first and foremost, the rational level to come and retest would be 47.6, right? That's this horizontal here. So ideally you'd be saying, okay, can it come back here before pushing through? Worst case, will it come down more into its EMA ribbon all the way down to 45.2? So that's your best case up here. That's your worst case. And then obviously all the permutations in between as well. Any pullback into these range, I will personally be looking to DCA a little bit more around this range if we kind of get lucky enough for it to come into its 4 hourly EMA ribbon. But right now you can't bet against Bitcoin. This is why I've been saying for a very long time now that I'm locked and loaded in the market. I've only got 10 to 12% cash for these dips, right? I'm not talking a lot of money that's waiting for these dips. I'm talking a little bit that I've got. I'm just trying to make sure I've got a little bit more cash available, that whenever Bitcoin does get a pullback, I'm not sitting there chewing on my thumbs. I'm like, okay, I've got a little bit of cash, I can buy the dip instead of FOMOing later on. Okay, so when you see Bitcoin here on the 4 hourly, super extended. Let's jump onto the daily chart now. Look at this, guys. Hold up. Do you want to learn how to trade? Then you need to jump into our Telegram community. Link is in the description. In our Telegram community, I share my altcoins. I share how I do my trade setups, how I do my stop losses and take profit, so you could learn to become a profitable trader. Check it out. Link is in the description. This is super extended as well. Very extended price action. But on this time frame is exactly where I need to share one warning with you guys. And for some of you who are a little bit kind of more trained in TA, you will notice this. We've got nice daily body candle closes here. These are better daily body candle closes than we had here when we got rejected. But what we don't have just yet, which I've been calling for the last 3 to 4 days, is we haven't touched a higher high above this level. On this day, on the 11th of January, where my cursor is right now, we wicked all the way up there to that 49.1 level, okay? And since then, we've not touched that. So it's very important, if this Bitcoin move wants us to sustain, it needs to touch above 49.1. Even if it wants to come back down thereafter, that's fine. It just needs to create that higher high in order to keep this upward trend momentum alive. Without doing so, we still face a little bit of a risk, guys. We have to understand that there is a little bit of a risk because we have been up to 49.1 and very quickly within 2 days crashed that to the downside. Okay, now of course we know that was to do with the anti-climax around the ETF and all the outflows from Grayscale. Hopefully we don't have those situations, but we do have one catalyst this week which could throw a spanner in the works, and I'm going to bring your attention to that shortly. Now make sure you're in our Telegram group. I will be giving you live updates on macroeconomics, ijazcrypto.com/TG. I share my altcoins, I share the TA setups, I share how I do my risk management. Loads of alpha is dropped in that Telegram channel, and the messages disappear within 24 hours. So you need to go and grab that alpha now whilst you can, before it all disappears. You're not going to get a chance to grab it afterwards. Now, let's jump into the economic calendar, because on Tuesday, the 13th, we have a very important piece of economic data, and that is the US CPI data for January. We know the market right now is not expecting a rate cut at the March meeting. But if we can see CPI meaningfully come to the downside, we could see this 16% rise. We could, if that CPI shows that inflation is softening, see more of the market price in a rate cut for the March meeting. Now, the opposite is also true. If inflation doesn't show meaningful signs of cooling down, if it shows that the market is still hot, inflation is still high, then you could see this 16% become less and more of the market becoming almost certain that we're not going to get a rate cut on March the 20th at the next FOMC meeting. So a lot to play for here this week. You got a bunch of Fed officials speaking as well. Expect them to have an impact on the market. But we got to understand, the move here on Bitcoin is a very Bitcoin-specific led move. We know from the start of the year, while the traditional markets were doing really, really well, the Nasdaq and the S&P hit some records and did really well, Bitcoin was stalling, right? Bitcoin had its issues here to do with the ETF, and we struggled as Grayscale dumped, and we fell all the way down here to lows of 38,000. But now we're starting to see that catch up. It's doing that regardless of what the dollar index is doing, right? Because the dollar index, if I jump up to the weekly chart, had a green week. It had a green week, but Bitcoin had a much better week. Look at the Bitcoin weekly candle there. That was the Bitcoin week. A 13% week it looks set to close out today. Okay, a very powerful week, and just goes to show how much momentum is with Bitcoin right now. And I want to share a very, very important point with you here. What we are seeing here is the strongest weekly candle close that we have seen since, in fact, you'd have to go further back all the way to here, the 27th of December 2021. This is really powerful from Bitcoin, guys. Anybody betting against Bitcoin right now is asking for huge trouble. And that significance of this weekly candle close is very, very important. Remember I was pointing to this candle? This candle here on the March of 2022 is when we collapsed. That's when we went from price points of as high as 48.2, eventually to our bear market lows of 15,500. It all started from that doji candle which we had on this week. And so that is why it's so imperative that we get the candle close above this level. And that is what Bitcoin looks set to do in the next 10 hours. This weekly candle closes in 10 hours. And if it can close where it is now, which is above these candles here, that is a major coup here. That means we have broken through the very difficult resistance. I mean, imagine where my cursor is, that line going across the screen there. We've broken through that resistance, which is a huge key level. Now, there is one thing I do want to share with you, which is me kind of being a little bit of a pessimist, but at the same time, explaining exactly what I see. Do you remember this pattern? It's like a cup and handle pattern. The same could be happening on the bigger time frame. Let's see if I can get a cleaner chart. I don't have any clean charts here. Let's use this one. So you see this point here? This could be a really big cup and handle pattern. This could go all the way round, get rejected from the handle, and then eventually break out. So if we get a violent rejection here on Bitcoin, don't be too crazy surprised. This is a very, very tough level. This bit here is a very tough level. That's why it's so impressive that Bitcoin is pushing through this right now. Because if it pushes on the first attempt, retests and goes, that is an amazing rounded bottom pattern that Bitcoin has pushed and shows a really, really impressive bullish intent from Bitcoin. So be prepared for either situation. If it gets rejected, be prepared for the handle handle of a cup and handle pattern, but if it does break, look for the retest and then a continuation of the move. And that's what's going to be so powerful here, is once you've cleared this resistance, which we're working on now, the next major resistance is at all-time highs, at 69,000. There's no other major resistance. Now, of course, there are mild levels of resistance, which I'll share with you in my daily updates, right? There are a lot of key levels, particularly this red zone here between 56 all the way up to 62. Historically, that had a lot of significance. We'll come onto that in our daily videos as and when we're at those levels. But for now, from a macro perspective, this is very, very important on Bitcoin. This is a very important week. It's a very important candle body close. And if we can have another positive week this week, Bitcoin will be unstoppable, and it's going to be crazy for altcoins and all the movement thereafter. Hope you enjoyed this video, guys. If you appreciate these updates on a daily basis, smash up the likes. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out the link in the description to our Telegram community, where I'm actively trading the market and making insane profits. If you want to see the type of altcoins I'm trading, make sure you're in our community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.